What is the first thing that pops up in your head when you think of video games? Fucking Mario. And Mario is overrated. Mario is Nintendo's flagship character. He doesn't need any proper introduction. He's already so well introduced into the gaming industry, has become a mainstream symbol like the Coca-Cola logo, as part of a collective conscious, yet the way Nintendo exploits this character and franchise is a complete disgrace. The first two games, Super Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong, were pretty much a basis of what will Mario play like in the future every time, but it has become to a point where the formula of these games, especially the latest ones, is so samey that it somehow becomes a tad bit boring. Not to mention the plenty other games in the Mario franchise, Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario Golf, etc., which serve as filler games that go as spin-offs. Nintendo could make any Mario game up like Mario Accounting, and even then the Nintendo fans will eat it up like hot chips. The company could have created new and original characters that will be different enough from what's already there, not copying Mario but creating something entirely new, as they have done several times and then turned into exploitable IPs like with Zelda or Splatoon. But that only exacerbates the problem. Nintendo always relies on familiar franchises that they keep milking because they are already constantly successful, and that feels incredibly boring. Let me preface this by saying that Nintendo, as far as I'm aware, is not a developer, it is a publisher, and as such they have their own internal game development teams. But for whatever reason, they have never created anything outside the usual comfort zone of Mario, Zelda, or any of their more successful IPs, and Mario is possibly the highest offender. Let me say this, Mario is one of the most important franchises in gaming history, and yet Nintendo doesn't seem to deviate way further from the usual Mario formula, to the point of almost getting stale in some respects. The formula is the same Mario platformer stuff that you've seen in nearly every Mario game that is an obvious spin-off. The kind of formula you've seen in Super Mario Bros. 1 and any new feature that each game has only serve as a minimal derivation of the same Mario formula. The fact that Nintendo has managed to create and sell the game Mario game for decades with very minimal new features is mind-boggling. They yet sell it with very few innovations to their hordes of mindless Nintendo consumers, the exact same people that keep buying and spending money on Nintendo games that revolve around the same Nintendo franchises like Mario. The feeling I got from these games and the consumers that buy it is like a Neverland or Peter Pan kind of feeling about it, where Nintendo has somehow succeeded in creating the greatest audience of man-children who, thanks to nostalgia bait, has never grown up. Nintendo treats their audience like children and sells their games like they were children because they know their audience is either children or man-children. There is no other reason why Nintendo has sold 1,000 games or more of these games over the years. I begin to understand Sega even more because since Nintendo treats their audience like children, they think their products should be still toys. It's an antiquated way of thinking that stems from the early ages of game consoles in the 80s or the 90s when the game industry was still in its early infancy. The old school mindset of how Nintendo executives view their audience is something that is very alien to the current day and age where the games industry has already grown up to cater not just to children or white cis male nerds, but to a far wider audience of people who don't always cater to the white patriarchal society or even children. The games industry even makes games for people who don't play video games, yet Nintendo appears to be a fossil that doesn't even stop making Mario games like this was 1984, because they're selling them like hotcakes to their audience of grown-up man-children. It's understandable younger generations of the future can still play Mario games, but even then, for them it's becoming antiquated with younger generations who are already busy playing stuff like Poppy Playtime and Fortnite. Maybe on several occasions, Mario will get to the heart of some current year children, but even then Mario is to video games what Mickey Mouse is to cartoons. It's a blatant mega symbol of capitalism from a major corporation that has lost any modicum of creative integrity whatsoever. For Nintendo, like Disney to Mickey, owning Mario is like an enormous bragging right to the same way Nintendo owns several IPs and other companies below them. For Nintendo, it's a way to tell everyone that they're a huge global corporation that can do anything without fear of backlash or even scrutiny, that it can use their massive profits to fund whatever ridiculous thing that revolves around the same old franchises without it can keep creating the same Mario dribble over and over again without any backlash. We often criticize sequelitis controversies around franchises like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, who are the most obvious offenders, and it's easy to criticize a company like Ubisoft for this, but Nintendo has done way worse, and they can keep getting away with it because they're somehow holy to the games industry. Listen, the 1983 gaming crash has already sailed. Nintendo saved the industry once and will never do so again. Mario is not an industry-saving franchise anymore. It belongs to gaming prehistory. Nintendo has become the thing that they were bound to save the industry from in 1983, and they have lost all the integrity and decency they once had. Not that they have much integrity and decency back then, because they were only saving the industry to just make record profits in their NES. But as they get bigger and bigger, they become the biggest money-hungry corporate parasite that parasites off other people's nostalgia. I'm sorry to break your bubble, but you're playing on capitalist grounds again. It's time to grow up.
I'm Captain Lou Albano talking to you about drugs. Kids, don't be afraid to say no. Anyone that asks you to use drugs is not your friend. Drugs can and will kill. Remember, don't be afraid to turn to your priest, your rabbi, your minister, your moms, your dads, your teachers, because drugs can kill. And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Please.